Alright, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 Uno versus Uno replay cast. We've got ourselves what should be a good one here. It's going to be my first cast on the new patch 4.10 point something or other like that. It's a lot of numbers, but I mean, basically, it's the first balance patch in a while. Nothing too major, I'd say. Maybe we'll see something come out of it, but if there's any changes that come up in the cast, I will be sure to point them out. Before that, though, it's important to point out who I'm going to be casting here. Spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map for player 1, it's FanTaSy. And in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it's a pleasure to be casting him. It is Chivo Ragnarok. Ragnarok, someone I don't cast too much, but for those of you unaware, he's a Korean Zerg. So we've got ourselves some good old Korean TvZ, so it is bound to be epic here. The map is Thunderbird, one of these maps here. I haven't had a chance to play too much on this map pool, which makes me a bit sad. However, the players really do know the maps at this point. And yeah, I'm excited to cast this one. It's on the new patch. I'm also really excited to cast FanTaSy to play. I was able to actually watch him live in GSL vs. the World, which was absolutely fantastic. And I think he was definitely my favorite player there to watch. So I was like, all right, gotta cast some FanTaSy here. He's one of these. He's like really into the game. He's someone who shows like a lot of. He's putting in the grind. He seems to have a lot of drive, even more so I'd say than some of the younger players. So that's something that I think is really great to see. So we'll see what build he's going to do here versus Ragnarok. Maybe we'll see some shenanigans. I mean, the only thing that I could really think of that'll come out of this new patch is basically stim timing is like 20 seconds less. Zerg gets a pneumatized carapace for a bit cheaper. Infested Terrans get nerfed a little bit. Nothing too major that's going to affect the TvZ matchup a ton, I don't think. But we'll just have to wait and find out. It's on the new patch. It's my first cast. And yeah, leave a like for this video, guys. If you're excited for the new patch, if you're excited for this TvZ, let's try and hit 20 likes on this video. That would be great to see if we can get back to hitting those, hitting that number. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you're a fan of FanTaSy Ragnarok or my casting, feel free to press that subscribe button because there'll probably be more of that on my channel to come. Yeah, so far FanTaSy coming on in with his Reaper, the dance that has been done a million times. Just Reaper pokes on in, bruises up a ling or two. Ooh, might get a creep tumor. Oh no, FanTaSy loses his Reaper. Almost had a creep tumor. Flew too close to the sun there. Almost got the creep tumor, but lost his Reaper. Didn't even get the creep tumor though. That is a bit of a kick in the teeth there, as FanTaSy having a bit of a rough go at it right out the gate here. Oh, just getting a bit of a lag spike there. Just for a second, a bit of a lag spike. But hopefully that subsides. My PC seems to not be happy. It kind of sat idle for quite a while, and now it's like Starcraft, and it's like, oh, I can't handle it. But yeah, we'll see how this game's gonna go. Pneumatized Carapace on the way already, for those of you unaware. That's about 25 resources cheaper. Nothing too major, but it's one of those little things. Maybe that's all the players need to be like, oh, I'm going to make this a staple of my StarCraft 2 build order diet. But, yeah. So, just pretty standard play here. A third CC is on the way already for FanTaSy, which I'm excited to see. It looks like he could be playing Bio 2, which is also very important and very exciting to see. He's got a tech lab there. It's a little bit of a tease there. I want to see some good old Bio TvZ is what I'm hoping to see, like a nice straight up TvZ. It could be MECH though, you never know. Either way, I'm going to be excited to see a third CC for a Terran. Usually means the game's going to go a bit longer and might reach that sort of more epic later stage. Another thing that happened in this patch, by the way, we're getting ourselves a bit of new skins. You might be like, why does this Overlord look like a Stegosaurus or something like that? That's because it's one of the new skins and Ragnarok has got that on. They don't do anything. They don't make the Overlords die any less. But they do make them look a little cooler when they do. So we see some of these new skins here for the Zerg player, which is great to see. I myself have got to pick up that new war chest. Man, these queens, I haven't had a chance to look at these queens. They're spooky. They've kind of got like those Predator dreadlocks. Okay, these are definitely like Predator right here. They're just like, all right, let's make the queens look like Predator. So that's really cool. I still have yet to pick up this new war chest, which I'm excited to pick up. Great way to support Starcraft esports, and so I make sure to do that whenever I can. The cool looking skins is always a bonus. We are going to see MECH coming out of FanTaSy. I feel like MECH is a lot more common in TvZ than it used to be, but we'll see what style he's going to play, how he's going to go about it. No battle cruiser rush or anything to open up, so we'll just see. This is a good place to look at where the meta is going. FanTaSy, someone who's very on top of his game. And of course, if you happen to be a Zerg, Ragnarok might be the guy to look at as to how you're going to deal with this. Personally, I don't know Ragnarok's style too much, as don't get to cast him pretty much all the time. But we'll see what he's going to do. He's going for a lot of Overlord Scouts here just to identify what FanTaSy he's going for, and so far he's basically ruled out the fact that it's going to be a battle cruiser rush, and the fact that it's going to... Okay, hold on, hold the phone here. And the fact... I can basically say, Ragnarok got a scout off. The thing that caught my attention while I'm saying hold the phone is we're seeing +1 on the way for FanTaSy already, which is very, very interesting, and he is getting a tech lab on his barracks. This makes me wonder if it's going to be something like a mech into bio play or something like that. Maybe he's going to start making marauders or something with this. I'm honestly not too sure. FanTaSy is getting a tech lab on this barracks. Maybe he's going to swap over, but the +1 means that there's got to be something biological coming out. There's a marine, there's stim on the way, so it is going to be a bio mech play coming out of FanTaSy. A bit of an interesting play here. Just going to control the map here with this Hellion Cyclone a little bit, and then just tech into bio behind this. Something to try and bamboozle the Zerg a little bit. We see Roaches on the way. Not the best versus bio, so we'll see how well this is going to work out for FanTaSy. The main thing to point out, though, is the fact that he is doing this off the back of a very good economy. He can't do something like this off 2 bases, really. It won't work out, but FanTaSy might have himself a really cool build here right now. A lot of Hellions are out. There's a couple of Cyclones out. Overlord being a pain chasing down these Vikings. He's already killed off a couple. How many Overlords have died this game? That's going to be Overlord number 3 and an Overseer. So Ragnarok lost a lot of Overlords so far, but as far as other damage that goes this game, nothing too major. We're seeing Blue Flame on the way, so these Hellions going to get a bit of an advantage versus drones and lings and such. Cyclones lock it on here. But yeah, I mean, a really great play so far from... I mean, he's done nothing spectacular besides the fact that he's playing a cool build, but Ragnarok might be saying, no thank you. I'm not going to allow you to get to that point. He's going to be going for a Nidus, but it's not one of these all-in Niduses, it would seem. It's going to be a Nidus Swarm Host play, because he's really focused on the fact that it's going to be mech. So I'm curious how this is going to work out, because you really see the Nidus Swarm Host versus mech, when in reality, there's actually going to be a bio play that just got scouted here as well. Look at this, FanTaSy getting out so many barracks here already. This is insane play coming from the Terran. He's just look at his production tab. He's getting Drilling Claws, Terran Vehicle Plating, Blue Flame, Stim, Armor, Weapon Attack, an extra CC, and then he's still just got all these mech units as well. This is really cool from FanTaSy. So, yeah, we'll see where this game's going to go from here. I mean, there was that Nidus, there was that Swarm Host, but the Overlords kind of got picked off there, so no Nidus being called in just yet. I think Ragnarok himself, the fact that he scouted the bio is like, what? What guy? What are you doing? You got triple factory? This is actually kind of really cool for FanTaSy, though. The triple factory is going to allow him to get tank production up, which really supplements the bio. He's going to be able to make a ton of Widow Mines if he so chooses, so this is actually really sick coming out of FanTaSy here. And now we'll see what Ragnarok's going to do about it. So far, the choice for Ragnarok has been to get up a very good economy. He's going up to 5 bases, 90 drones, so he's going to have money, money, money. We saw a lot of drones in that last series I cast between, like, Stefano and Sol. So, a lot of drones for Zergs these days. And, we'll see. It allows you to basically just build up an insane bank really quickly. It allows you to throw out a lot of units quickly. Not necessarily get the best army, because a lot of supply is caught up in those drones. However, as far as money for days, you're covered. FanTaSy going to try and secure himself a 4th base. Looks like he's going to be taking this one here. And then we've got a Greater Spire on the way for Ragnarok. So this is actually just such a weird game. FanTaSy, he's just gone pretty much into full bio at this point. He is going to have the Blue Flame Hellbats, though, in the push here, which, can I just say, is the sickest thing. I wish we'd see more of this. Like, the Hellbats, it's just, like, such a cool thing. It's what you'd see in, like, a movie, right? Like, the guy with the flamethrower fighting off the bugs. So now we're... Oh, my God, those Widow Mine... Oh, that was disgusting. That Widow Mine and the tanks are killed off so much Zerg. Okay, this game's really starting to heat on up. We've got Ragnarok poking on in, dropping some corrosive bows, picking off a couple of tanks. However, FanTaSy's army is looking a little bit scary right now. His +2 attack just finished, so he's going to be looking to move on in. Ragnarok wants to deal with this army somehow. He wants to engage on in, but there's like 5 tanks here covered by a couple of Widow Mines. The tanks are unsieging though. That could be Ragnarok's moment, but no, he backs off. He's making more Banelings. He's actually going to have like 60-something Banelings here, which is going to be an insane amount. That might be all that he needs to deal with this attack. I mean, this is actually insane. Ragnarok off the back of 90 drones can just make a ton of Banelings here. He's going to have +2 attack relatively soon. Probably looking for a good surround, so can he clean up FanTaSy? And he's got Vipers to go with this, so he's actually going to be able to shut down these tanks. The Banelings in mass are rolling on in here. Widow Mines are getting decent connections there, but FanTaSy is running. There's simply too many Banelings. He can't do much about this. Marauders try and stand. Widow Mines are getting connections off, and it looks like FanTaSy has retreated back far enough. Okay, so maybe he is going to be able to deal with this. Lost a lot of his tanks, though. Ragnarok did deal with a fair bit of the Terran army, and now he's making more Banes. He's going to be trying to remax here. FanTaSy's got a bit of a window. He might be able to shut down these morphing Banelings. Corrosive Bows, Ravagers, and Queens being used to deal with this Terran army, this little bit that still stands for FanTaSy, but it's looking like Ragnarok is going to be able to push this back. Beautifully done by the Zerg player. Just so cool that Ragnarok able to make just an absolute ton of Banes there off the back of his economy. Take a look at that income. It's definitely ahead for the Zerg, and he's just got such a high income here. Let's just like look at that. That is a very high number for a Zerg player. And now Ragnarok, he was able to hold on. Once again, not the most like supply heavy army there, but it was just the fact that he had like 65 Banelings in that army or something, which was just insane. FanTaSy couldn't do really anything about that besides run with the bio in Ragnarok. Now he's been able to get up just a few Broodlords, which are all that it really takes to shut down a Terran pushing with bio. So FanTaSy is going to have to look at this game and where he's going to take it. He's investing in more CCs. He's getting up Starports. He's getting up Liberators. You got to deal with the Broodlords somehow, whether it be Ghosts, Vikings, Thors even are an option. For now, though, FanTaSy just going to keep using his higher mobility to keep pressure on the Zerg. The Broodlord's a little bit out of position. Catches a few Banelings, pretty nice there, but look at that. Broodlords will end up pushing this Terran army away, so this game's going to go on a little bit longer, and oh man, I am loving this TvZ here. What a great Terran versus Zerg so far. FanTaSy trying to push on in, but Ragnarok holding strong. FanTaSy, he's scanning to clean up some creep. All those Banelings, Lings, and Broodlords are going to push him back. The Widow Mine's going off, getting just one shot off there. The other mine gets picked off, and take a look at this. +3 finishing up for FanTaSy, so his upgrades are pretty darn good here. It would be cool to see him continue on with these mech upgrades. He kind of got started when he made mech at first, but then he did sort of shy away from continuing on those upgrades. You can only do so much, but it might be good to start that again. And there we go, we see the ship weapons on the way now, because he is going to be going into these sort of units to try and deal with these Broodlords. You need the mech units, and mech upgrades really helps that. Liberator getting some shots off here on a couple of drones, a couple of Queens, but looks like Ragnarok will clean this up. This other Liberator going to try and nope on out of there, and we're seeing Vikings on the way. So FanTaSy is going to try and push it in again, just cleaning up creep, just trying to keep the pressure on the Zerg. Looks like we're actually going to be seeing a drop. Multiple locations going to be getting hit by FanTaSy right now. Going into the main base, how quick can the Zerg react? There is a lot of Lings and Banes out still, so Ragnarok shouldn't have too hard of a time dealing with this. I do apologize about that, guys. I left myself on Skype. But, alright, professional casting as always. No one ever calls me on Skype. I'm going to have to talk to that person. And apparently I'm on busy, so I don't know why Skype actually did call me there. But, yeah, let's take a look here. FanTaSy coming on in. I do apologize about that, but let's just keep going on with this cast. Tanks getting set on up. FanTaSy is coming in. He does have a pretty good army supply here. However, Ragnarok, he's lost a few drones, so he's actually been able to build up a pretty strong army. So many Banelings roll forward. I don't know if that was an efficient trade. And let's see, Vikings on the way here now in FanTaSy. For FanTaSy, let's take a look here. Vikings going to be picking off Corruptors here, so it looks like that FanTaSy may be able to start to win the air fight. Good save there by Ragnarok, saving that Viper. That was a very nice move there. In the end, though, after all these skirmishes are said and done, FanTaSy still pushing all over the map, but Ragnarok maybe looking to counterattack a little bit. Good depot raise by FanTaSy. However, these Lings may still get in, but oh, Widowmine really thins their numbers out there. And yeah, let's take a look here. Viking's going to be pushing on in. Okay. Level 3 armor finishing up for FanTaSy, so he is going to have that 3-3 for Terran Bio. He's getting building armor, so his planetaries will be a little bit stronger here. Ragnarok, I mean, he's still got himself a pretty decent economy, but FanTaSy has taken the lead in the economic sense of it. As Ragnarok, he lost a few of his drones, but that's going to allow him to build up a bigger army supply. We see it's actually closer than it was. And oh, beautiful connections there on those Banelings. FanTaSy not paying attention. Some Lings are going to try and engage this PF. I don't think that's going to happen. Lings very rarely can take down a PF. The repair is just too good there. They're getting close. I mean, these are +3 Lings. Wait, are they going to get it? No, the SCVs and the Marines able to save it there at the end. That was actually really close, though. Those +3 Lings with adrenal glands, they don't call them cracklings for no reason there. Okay, yeah. Liberator range on the way here. 5 Liberators at a time. Liberators, interestingly enough, despite not having good anti-air, kind of counter Broodlords because they lock down the Zerg ground, which is generally supporting of Broodlords. So there's definitely that to consider. Oh, Widowmine goes off, gets a connection. 11 Lings. The mine gets killed there, but definitely a pretty alright trade. There are even more mines out on the map for FanTaSy. Widowmines, they're pretty much always guaranteed to get a good trade because they're so cheap. Now, though, looking at this game, it's really starting to heat on up here. We are getting Liberators on the way. We are getting ship weapons. Burrow, Infestors. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how Infestors are pretty strong, but this is post-patch now, so they're not actually going to be as good, or their Infested Terran won't be as good. So we'll see if that really affects the matchup too much. I don't think it's going to make a massive change in TvZ, but you never know. I mean, they will be weaker versus BCs and such because the BCs have that high armor, and that tweak went through, basically making it so that they don't ignore armor anymore. And we see FanTaSy run on in. Gets a bit of friendly fire there from his Widowmines, but will be able to pick off that hatchery. Meanwhile, though, a massive counterattack here. A ton of Banelings rolling on in. That planetary gets cracked. Looks like the Zerg player going to be looking for another. He does back off, though, realizing, maybe not. The planetary does shoot off a few of the Banelings, though. Might be enough just to save itself. Ragnarok looking for those SCVs. Good save there, though, from FanTaSy. He did lose that planetary, though, but he's reestablishing another base. Would be good to see FanTaSy throw up another few CCs. He is a Terran player with a bit of a bank right now, and you generally want to have a few more CCs on the back burner, as you never know when you're going to lose some to a couple of Banelings or a ton of Lings here. So suddenly Ragnarok running on in, going to pick off some SCVs. These SCVs are coming on in wrong time. You guys want to get on out of there. So that base being denied, and suddenly FanTaSy's economy might be slowing down a little bit. At the same time, though, Ragnarok's economy has really been shut down too because he's starting to mine out and he hasn't been able to secure a new base. FanTaSy, he's harassed other locations here. Ragnarok's trying to secure this forward base, basically using his army's strength in order to take this over, and there's no nukes out just yet to zone this. So Ragnarok really making a stand here on this base. Okay, let's take a look. 3 nukes at a time on the way for FanTaSy. Absolutely. Oh man, nukes are just so common in SC2. It's great. And oh, look at this. Orbital command has been floated over. SCV is getting harassed. Ragnarok on point here. This is why I like to see the Terran player always invest in a couple of extra CCs and not just having a ton of orbitals on the back foot, because orbitals can get picked off. Orbitals don't protect your SCVs or anything like that. So if Ragnarok actually had or if a FanTaSy actually had say a spare command center finishing up or whatever, would have been able to make that a planetary. Might not have taken that harassment. That's just something to think about there. As far as this game's going on, though, I mean, both these players are looking really good. Ragnarok really starting to rely on these Infestors, basically just to lock down this base, just to hold it strong. Army supply very equal, so it could come down just to one big engagement, and we are seeing the Terran players step on in. It's a little bit risky to be engaging on in here as FanTaSy stepping onto creep. He's got a good amount of Liberators, though, a good amount of Vikings. The concern, though, is the fact that there is so many Infestors here. Infestors are pretty darn lethal these days. Still, I feel. I mean, if you're clumped up and you get fungal growth and then hit with some Banelings, that is it. It's important to note out, Rich Vespine Geyser is up for grabs for Ragnarok, so he might actually get that bit of extra gas income, which can help him out. We're seeing FanTaSy go for some bunkers to defend the space, which is kind of cool, but then again, it could just be a planetary if he spent some of his minerals on some more CCs. He's got a 2k bank. Would like to see a few more CCs getting thrown up. Sometimes Terrans just run out. We are seeing a bit of an engagement here, though. Liberators are going to be engaging into all of these infested Terran that were just tossed out. Snipes going down on a ton of the Corruptors. We're seeing the Vikings move forward. However, they have been hit with a parasitic bomb, and they are all clumped up, so they're going to go down. That is actually a massive pickoff there for the Zerg player. He also nabs up the space. The Corruptors did take a lot of damage due to the Vikings and the Ghost Snipes. However, that's just a crazy trade going on. We're even seeing nukes get called on in now. This is one of Ragnarok's last mining bases, so this nuke is actually going to cost him a lot. Snipes are going down to FanTaSy's mass Ghosts. He does have to be careful, though, because there is still an absolute ton of infestors out there, and there's that infestor versus ghost dance. You got to be careful of your FanTaSy. Infestors getting a little bit close. That mineral door has been opened up here. More infested Terran getting tossed on out. Ragnarok just using that energy. It's basically free damage. The few Corruptors he has are able to pick off a few Liberators. FanTaSy, though, I mean, he does still have the space in the bottom left. He can mule that. He's getting some Marines in those bunkers. There we go. More CCs are going up for FanTaSy, which is really important to see, but I feel like I feel kind of weird. I always find myself while casting harping on such weird things like resources lost. I'm kind of like a broken record. Also, as far as Terrans go, building your CCs a little bit earlier. If FanTaSy built those like a minute or two ago when he had, say, that 2,000 bank, he would have been able to already secure another base, to already replace another CC. So that's just something to think about there. As far as this game goes, though, it's still a very close one. Nukes are getting called on in. Catches quite a few drones there with that nuke. Got a Widowmine here burrowed at this base, just trying to deny Ragnarok's expansion. Another nuke being called on in. This Ghost on a stealth mission, just going to be nuking these poor drones. They're just relaxing after a hard day's work. They mined out this extractor, and now they're going to pay the price. Oh, man, there's that. Oh, these poor drones. I'm sorry, guys. FanTaSy, though, he's doing a very good job here, using his Liberators to zone this out, and he's actually going to be working away on Ragnarok's last base, so this is where it's going to start to get real dire for the Zerg. This is actually really bad for Ragnarok. I mean, the army of Ragnarok is still very, very good and very, very scary. However, his economy is pretty much non-existent at this point. Widowmine goes off, hits an Overseer or two. Ragnarok might want to pick off that mine. Although it looks like he is busy focusing on a counterattack here. These Marines in their bunker, this Neo-Steel framing and building armor bunkers, are they going to be able to hold off these Lings? Looks like they are going to be able to. And suddenly Ragnarok, he was a Zerg who was an 80 or 90 drones at one point in this game, but we see how sometimes players in Starcraft 2, they let their economies are slowed down too much, and this is exactly what's happened to Ragnarok by FanTaSy. He's forced his economy to fall to pieces here, we see. But oh, look at that beautiful fungal going down. There's so many EMPs hitting pretty much all the infestors, so Ragnarok wants to get off another fungal or two. He's running forward with all of his infestors. He catches a ton of ghosts, catches some of the Vikings there with fungals. He's actually going to be really running out of energy here, though, but Ragnarok might actually just be going for it. He might just say enough is enough. I don't want to deal with this poking and prodding from the Ghost Liberator anymore. What a crazy TvZ we had here. FanTaSy even launched a nuke there. There we go. Picks off that hatchery. Another nuke going down here. Might be able to nab the Greater Spire and another nuke or two here. So just, oh man, FanTaSy just playing pretty darn well here. He's secured the space to the top right. Corruptors are actually doing a very good job picking off these Liberators here. Vikings are starting to work away on the Broodlords since they're no longer protected. Ghosts are getting snipes off here. The Infestors, they're pretty darn, not the best. I mean, since they're just getting picked off here by the Ghosts, they don't actually have that much range on their spells to defend themselves, so these Ghosts getting pretty good trades. Infestors darn expensive. Looks like Ragnarok is going to be losing everything, though. The Broodlords are pushing forward, working away in FanTaSy's bio army, but, oh man, yeah, look at that. Snipes going off here. Broodlords getting picked off, and, oh yeah, that's going to be it there. Snipes going down. Broodlords getting picked off. Yeah, GG gets called. FanTaSy takes it. Beautiful TvZ there. That was an absolute pleasure to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this cast too. Leave a like for this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a like for Skype. Ignoring the busy setting, guys. I am always busy on Skype. I promise you that much. So I do apologize about the rigging there in that video. So leave a like for Skype. ignoring the busy setting. Or leave a like if you dislike Skype. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you're new to the channel, feel free to press that subscribe button. Otherwise, I shall see you next time, I suppose. Make sure to press that like button. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.